Nurse Alice Benjamin, thank you so much for joining me for Confidence Conversations.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and chat with you.
Yes, so let's dive in with what does confidence mean to you?
Oh my gosh, this is such an important word to me, confidence. Confidence means that you have that inner strength, that uh, deep-seated empowerment to live your life to the fullest. It's like living fearlessly. Now, I understand we all have our fears, but it's the confidence, it's that feeling inside that reaffirms you that, you know what, I can do this. I'm here, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my best. So to me, that's what confidence means. And it's something that's really important that we remind ourselves of often because sometimes we can lose that confidence.
We can. So, what do you do to really keep yourself on track? And how did you build your sense of confidence in the first place?
Well, if I can have a transparent moment, I've not always been the most confident person. And we don't know these things about people. You never know what someone's going through. You see a smile, you see their with their hair and makeup done and they're smiling for the camera. You think that, oh my gosh, they must be confident. They look beautiful, they look amazing, they're showing up. But really, I had low self-esteem for quite some time, especially during the era of when I was married to my high school sweetheart. We had this family, I had this life planned out, and then stuff changed. It didn't go how I planned for it to go. And because of that, I was second guessing myself. I was second guessing what I had done, my choices, and what was I doing? And just really second guessing myself. So I had low self-esteem and I did not have the confidence. And what I did when I got to a point where I'm like, Alice, this has got to change because not having that confidence can have such a rippling effect on other aspects of your life, on your productivity, your mood, your health, how you show up, your quality of work. And I knew that I was so much better than that. So I actually I dug deep into my sisterhood, my friends that I have around me. And I made sure that I was in a network of with other women who I could lean on, who I could talk to, and dived into, the word, the Bible and things like that. And just kind of had to go back deep inside, Alice, who are you?
Mhm.
What do you do? What is your passion? What are your gifts? And once I really decided that, you know what, I'm a nurse. I take care of people. This is what I'm good at. And I found a lot of um, reward in servicing others. And in doing that, I slowly started to build my confidence up and recognize, you know what, I'm here for a purpose. I might not have made the best decisions. Things might not have always gone the way it's planned, but I'm here for a purpose. I'm going to serve that purpose. And as I started to do that, my
Mhm.
cup started to fill up. I started to feel better about what I was doing, where I was going, simultaneously taking better care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and allowing myself grace. And
Mm.
those things collectively started to help me build my confidence.
Oh, thank you for being so transparent about your story and your journey because I think hearing that is so real and so relatable. Oftentimes we have these moments in life. We plan our lives, right? We're planners. We
Yeah.
want to make sure we've got everything in its place, all of our ducks in a row. And then when one of those things falls out of line, it can be this real identity crisis of who am I and what do I do next? And sometimes the only thing that we have to do is just be. And so I love that you talked about falling into your circles, giving yourself grace, and really exploring what it is that you're put on this earth to do, which was to help people. And by filling into others' cups, you fill yours up as well. Because that's how it works when you're operating in your
Yeah,
purpose. So I want to know, did you always
absolutely.
know that that was your calling, was to be a nurse and to take care of people in that way?
Actually, it wasn't you know, we planned, God laughs. So I thought that I wanted to be an accountant. In my high school years, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be an accountant. And I was kind of like putting myself on the track to do so. But my father, who was at the time retired military, was having some health issues. Some people may not know this, but back in the days, when people got breaks from work, they'd all say, smoke them if you got them. So many people picked up the habit of smoking, and we didn't know all of the health dangers that we do now. And so my dad picked up smoking in the military. And that obviously, after years, led to high blood pressure, heart disease. He had had strokes, heart attacks, and things like that. And as the eldest in the family, I helped take care of him. And, and my mom was working too. So my mom was gone out, kind of looking out over my dad. And he would always say, Alice, you're gonna make such a great nurse. And my dad, I'm gonna be an accountant. But he kept telling me these things. And because innately, I had no idea I was doing this, but innately, I would show up, I would ask questions, I would do care. Many of the things that kind of primed me and that I do in my nursing role. And it's just something that I was drawn to. I had no idea that I was gonna be a nurse. I thought that I couldn't stand the sight of blood and all of these other, things that we think about. But when you're really in the spirit of taking care of people, those things become less important. It's the actual health and wellness of the person that is in front of you. You want to see them do well. You want them to be pain-free. You want them to have a quality of life. And so I fell into that. And fast forward several years, after my dad's initial heart issues started happening, he ultimately died of a massive heart attack in our small local community hospital. And I remember vaguely elements I always kind of flash this back every once in a while, even till this day. What was really going on in my dad's care? Because when I think about his doctor's appointments and the things that he did, I recognized that there was a gap in communication and how providers would talk to their patients and their families and explain things, because we all know it takes a village, right? So things weren't properly explained to my dad, because even I didn't understand them and my mom didn't understand them. And so there was a gap. And then we didn't have as many community services, outreach, all the stuff that we can go to Google and YouTube. They didn't have that stuff back then. So there was a real gap in education on some of the simple things, not just, here, your medications, take these pills, but diet and exercise and how those impact your body. And even up until those last couple of times my dad was in the hospital, I recall the communication between the doctors and the nurses and my dad and how he was treated. And I just thought to myself, this isn't a pleasant experience. We're more afraid than we are feeling trusting of the care that you're providing my dad. Like, we don't really know what's going on. Why is nobody talking to us? And so when my dad died in the emergency room, I immediately said to myself, I'm going to be the best cardiac nurse in the world. I am going to champion heart health, how to take care of yourself on the preventative side, and make sure that no one, I know this is a lofty goal, but that no one, or at least minimize the number of people that have to have the type of experience that me, my family, my dad went through, and hopefully ultimately impact someone's outcome. Maybe they can live a little bit longer. Maybe they'll won't have to take as much medicine. Maybe they'll, change a lifestyle behavior on what I want to teach them and show them. And so I actually set out my whole career on being the best cardiac nurse in the world and committed myself to like community service. Now, I say that now, but back then it was just passion. It was passion, it was fire. And I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I didn't have this eloquent math, plan with I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that. I just knew I need to talk about how to be heart healthy. I need to get into our communities of color. I need to get to the people who need this information the most, which are people that look like you and I.
I love that mission. And I really am inspired by your journey from something that was painful, the death of your father, that you turned into your life's purpose and are now impacting thousands of people through your work. So thank you, first of all, for your service. And I want to talk about, how we can do a better job of advocating for ourselves, because it's true when we get into situations like that, especially in the emergency room, when things are happening so quickly, it can be difficult to, one, get your physician's attention, but also to be able to speak up and advocate for yourself. So what advice do you have in terms of navigating the system and being empowered?
About 3 in every 5 people are going to access either an urgent care or an emergency room every year, right? It's an emergency room. It's not planned. It's something that we didn't expect. And going to those places can be scary. Many times, and I'm a nurse practitioner in an emergency room. So it's actually kind of full circle that now I work in the emergency room in the very environment in which someone like my dad came in to seek care. And I think, unfortunately, one of the things that goes on is that there's medical gaslighting. There's medical gaslighting. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but It's when someone comes in and perhaps their initial medical concerns aren't fully heard or might be dismissed. And because of that, that can change the trajectory of the care that you receive, which is what I strongly believe hindsight happened to my dad. But when you go to the emergency room, it's really important to understand that, for one, we recognize that you're scared. We recognize you're coming in there because you don't feel well, but you have to know that there's so many other people in that space that don't feel well. And hospitals are undermanned, womaned. But we don't necessarily have enough, all the staff we would like to take care of the people that come in the emergency room. So oftentimes we will see people who are in immediate life-threatening danger first. So I think that's something that when people come in, their biggest complaint is, why is it taking so long? I came in before this other person. And so that's one thing that people should recognize. It doesn't mean that your health issues aren't important. They are important. And we do want to make sure that you're seen. But when you come to the emergency room, I think that's one of the biggest complaints or concerns is, why is it taking so long? But we still want to see you. You're still there for a reason. And when you get there, it's really important that you identify and clearly articulate what's going on with you. Don't worry about how silly it's going to sound, how awkward it sounds. Don't be embarrassed. We are truly there to help you, but you have to tell us completely, what's going on. Because some people will say, oh, well, my tummy hurts and, I've been having these issues, but they fail to tell us that, but I ate, a lot of spicy food. I drank 3 beers. I did this, I did that. And then I took all of these medications. Like, we have to really understand what's going on with you. I want people to know that we work for you. So when we talk about confidence and being empowered, I want people to know that when you go to the emergency room, we work for you. So please tell us everything that's bothering you, because we want to take care of you. Now, some of what also I really feel it's important for people to know is that while things have maybe gotten better in our healthcare system, and I've previously mentioned gaslighting, unfortunately, because of deep-seated historical racism and implicit bias and other things, sometimes providers still don't get it. And I think the reason why I mentioned it's important, especially in communities of color, patients, our Black and brown patients that come in, sometimes will come in with an issue, a complaint, or a concern, and your concern might be dismissed or it may not be heard. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to it's important for you to take that confidence and really explain, say, hey, X, Y, and Z are bothering me. I really want you to work me up because I'm concerned that it might be something serious. There's lots of studies out there that show that, unfortunately, that when different people come in, they may be treated differently, obviously, because of either their gender or the color of their skin or how they identify.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. And I think that it's helpful to know and have you say as a nurse that the medical staff that's there in the hospital works for the patient. And so being able to advocate that and realize that. So what are some of the tools that we can take away to be more preventative in nature and in regards to our heart health specifically?
I think what's really important with our heart health is that, obviously what we eat is important. And I get it. We work in a very fast-paced environment. People are, working day jobs, night jobs. They have a hustle. They're trying to be entrepreneurs. They have children. We've taken on so much on our plate these last couple years. And so it's important that we don't forget about ourselves. So eating healthy is going to be important. It's easy to, go somewhere and pick up something to eat, but really make sure that whatever you're eating, that you're making sure that it's, if you can, as much as possible, watching your cholesterol, your fat intake, your salt intake, the sugar intake, because those things, what seems like, oh, it's just one time to one meal. Is it really one meal? Because we're doing this sometimes unconsciously, several times out of the week, several weeks, and though that over months, over years can make a big difference. So watching what we eat, making healthier food options, eating more natural fruits and vegetables, lean meats and things like that. Exercising is also important. And I think people don't recognize, they think that, oh, I have to go to a gym to exercise. And you don't. You can actually exercise in the comfort of your home. You can dance, you can hula hoop, you can go roller skating, you can just walk around the perimeter of a mall, those type of things, staying active, getting enough sleep. I actually just gave a presentation not too long ago on the importance of sleep. Sleep is so important because everyone's like, if you snooze, you lose. Actually, no. If you don't snooze, you lose. So there's so much importance with sleep, but also other things, just in moderation, and actually even eliminating if possible. Drinking, now I like a good adult beverage myself too, but in moderation. But things like smoking, cigarettes, hookah, even all of those things, and managing our stress. That's something that's also very important, and making sure you go to your annual wellness appointment. You got to go to your annual wellness appointment to know where you are in things. That's an opportunity for early identification, intervention, and prevention, because we want to talk to you about what's going on. Your body changes, and it can change pretty quickly. So 1 year, a lot can change. So those are some things that we can do to first identify where we're at and identify what's going on with us, so we can, as a provider, personalize a plan in collaboration with you to keep you healthy and keep you well, to make sure that you can have that quality as well as quantity of life.
Yeah, that's really helpful. One of the things that you mentioned was stress, and there's a lot more research going into the mind-body connection and how those, the stress that you feel on emotional or mental level can impact some of the manifestations that you're seeing in your body. But life is full of so many competing demands, priorities. How do we keep our stress levels down?
Just as much as we're putting things on our calendar, like dentist appointment, doctor's appointment, brunch with the ladies, a work meeting, we need to put ourselves on our calendar as well. We need to allow some me time so we can really kind of clear our mind and be in a space where we can focus on ourselves with competing priorities, as you mentioned. So obviously we're all under stress. I mean, even just the pandemic, although that's resolving, that was very stressful. And so what happens is our body is wired to respond to stress. Like, there are stress hormones that are released when we're nervous, we're scared, we're under the wire, stakes are high. So that's a kind of a natural fight or flight response. But what happens is these other commitments and priorities, they create stress in our body, maybe not to the same magnitude as if, oh my God, there's a lion who's about to eat me, but it creates still a stress response, a small one. But when that happens multiple times through the day, every day, it actually can cause inflammation in our body, which can lead to a whole host of health issues, from your heart, your kidney, your liver, your eyes, your stomach. Like, so many things can go wrong. I mean, our hair can thin, or ladies, our edges, like our nails become brittle, we break out, our skin, we're seeing more blemishes, and we're not operating in our best. And so when we see things like that, when there's a stress, when we're under so much stress like that, it's important that we have to actively take time and protect time for ourselves, so we can get back to, focusing on centering ourselves and starting to look at things from a glass half full perspective. Look at your schedule. Like, do I really need to do all these things? Do they need to be done this quickly? Maybe I need some time to just myself. Maybe I need to go for a walk. Maybe I need to sit outdoors. Let me look at things from a different perspective. The way in which we look at things can actually make a big difference in how we respond. So, like, for example, let's say you get into a little fender bender with someone. Obviously, no one likes getting into accidents. Like, oh my gosh, my car, yes, I mean, absolutely, that's important. But you know what? At least nobody's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be replaced. The other driver can't be replaced, but this tire and this bumper can be replaced. Inconvenience, yes, but thankfully, we're okay. So I think shifting our mindset is a very important part of the mind-body connection and how we look at things. We can actually create so much stress within ourselves. It can make us sick and unhealthy. And if you can actually shift that mindset to look at things a little bit differently, look at more on the positive side, doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you a punk. Just because you didn't get that last word in with that argument doesn't mean that you're a sucker or anything like that. It just means that, you know what? I value myself. I value my peace. And I'm not going to let anything disrupt that, because my health and wellness, physically and mentally, is so much more important to me. You can have that last word.
Yeah,
Doesn't really.
that last word.
I know.
It's
Sometimes
always
we want to be that person.
the last word. But
But I'm gonna let you have it.
and it's so true. I think mindset is such a vital part of our lives. And I don't think we realize sometimes how much power and control we have over our thoughts and the things that we're thinking. And it starts with that present moment awareness. And sometimes, we get these questions like, how am I supposed to be mindful and calm when something like a car accident or something really devastating happens to our lives? But I think that that's really the moment, the best time, right, to practice that mindful awareness and shift in mindset. Because, of
Mhm.
course, it's easy to be cool, calm, and collected when everything's going your way. But if you have an opportunity to say, all right, this is a struggle, this sucks from the outside looking in, but how can I reframe this as an opportunity to grow within myself? We allow ourselves to relieve that stress response and learn more about ourselves and grow in that situation.
Absolutely. And if I could just add, Jocelyn, there are times where like I'm ready to lose it. Listen, I'm human. I'm just like everyone else. My kids or some will do something or something happens at work or something doesn't go my way. I literally will take a moment, I will close my eyes and I will step back and just like take a deep breath, even if I'm doing some self-talk like, girl, okay, hold on. Let's not lose it. Let's not lose. Let's get it together. What is what is the most important thing right now? Okay. Everyone's safe, no one's hurt, everyone's breathing. You're okay. I am physically okay. So, okay, something didn't go the way you wanted, but just to kind of step back, take a deep breath and remind ourselves. So, changing mindset is not something that's real easy. When we say like out of sight, out of mind, like if you see a broken arm, you can see the something's going on, but you can't see when someone's stressed or hurt or upset inside. You can't see a broken heart per se, right? Because it's all inside. So that's why we have to be purposeful and just kind of like take a step back for ourselves. And I will stop, and my kids are like, oh, okay, hold on. Let's mom needs to have her moment because she done closed her eyes and she's talking to herself. And it's okay. It's totally okay to do it, whatever that looks like for you. But just reclaiming yourself in that moment is the first thing that you need to do. Reclaim yourself.
Mhm. I love that. So tell me a bit more about your journey and path to mindfulness, because I like to say confidence, mindfulness is a journey, it's not a destination, and we learn more and more about ourselves every single day.
Yes. So it wasn't, you know, although I'm a healthcare provider and yes, I understand, mental health, wellness, and things like that, I'm still a person like everyone else, right? And I'm exposed to the same elements as everyone else. And life will take you on these different journeys. And I'm going to pull back to a time where that I can recall the most. Hopefully, not many people can relate to me, but unfortunately, I think many can. Whether you were married or just in a serious relationship with someone, or it might be a job that you lost. But I remember when I was going through my divorce, a day where I didn't recognize this, but someone who loved me recognized it. And they're like, girl, you're not combing your hair. You don't look happy. You're always tired. Like, what is going on with you? And I was, obviously going through this divorce, and I kind of lost myself, my identity. I was just showing up. I didn't really have a plan. I was just showing up and just kind of like getting by through the day. And so someone sat me down and pointed these things out to me because I didn't really notice it. You don't notice it when you're going through it. It's hard. And when I when this person, a really, really dear friend of mine, sat me down and shared these things with me, I thought, oh my gosh, I have lost complete control of myself and my life. At least that's how it felt. And she had to remind me, and this is why I feel like having a good network of friends, or if you don't have that type of friend, a therapist, someone who can sit there and speak with you objectively with no judgment about what's going on with you. You have to identify that there's an issue first. So identify that there was an issue. And I had to look at what was most important to me, because if I continued on this route that I was on, this was not going to lead me to the success, happiness, and health and wellness that I wanted. And I want those things. I think, everyone wants money, but what good is money if you don't have health or
Mhm.
wellness, or you can't enjoy it? And I wanted to be happy. I think that was the ultimate thing. I was unhappy. I wanted to be happy, and happiness is, related to confidence.
Yeah.
Um, Most people who are confident about themselves have at least a certain amount of happiness in their lives. So I saw that the two were connected, and I sat down with my girlfriends. It was like it's like a girl, we got to have this talk with you. And they loved me, and they feel like, we had this discussion, and I realized what was most important: the fact that I was losing someone, but who was I really losing? Was I really losing a partner, or was I losing myself? So I recognized I was losing myself, and I needed to reclaim myself. And so that is when I had to, and I knew the mind body connection as a healthcare provider. I'm like, this is why my hair is doing this weird thing. I'm not eating well. My skin is breaking out. It's always oily because I'm not eating well. I'm not exercising. I'm gaining all this weight. I'm not, all of these emotional, mental things I was going through was manifesting physically. And so that's when I kind of put my provider hat back on. I was like, okay, girl, we got to get it together.
Yeah.
And then identified that, okay, these are the things that I need to do. And there's baby steps. You ain't got to do everything all at one time, but one thing at a time. So I changed my mindset. In the morning, some of the first things I would do was I would meditate and I would pray before I touch my phone, before I would do anything. I would give thanks, gratitude for being here for another day to be able to do what I'm here to do. And then I started, being more structured about the things I'm eating, the activity that I was engaging in, and even the people and the experiences I was engaging in. It had to be positive and constructive. I removed myself from the Debbie Downers, from the people, the energy suckers. People will zap your energy. And
Yeah.
so I had to create a place and a space where I could grow, where I could be productive, grow in a positive way. And a lot of that is what helped me to keep my mindset. Because you can say, oh, I'm going to think positive, I'm going to do this. You get a call from a particular friend who is a gossiper and always has negative things to say, it would drag me back down. So I
Mhm.
changed my atmosphere, what I was doing, included the activity, started drinking more water, eliminating, um, more. I was drinking a lot of soda. I would go to, having drinks with my girlfriends more often. I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we gotta do this the healthy way. And those little things, I promise you, they sound so innocent, so little. Like, how did that change anything? Changed my life. It
Yeah.
really did, because it put me on the track to success, health and wellness, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I had these boundaries
Mhm.
that if I knew that our discussion, our interaction, our going out to eat or anything was going to deviate from the goals that I had set for myself, that I couldn't do it. And that's not always easy to do. But I did those things to get myself back on the right track. And then once I was on that track, I had to really make sure that the mindset that I was surrounding myself and feeding my mind positivity,
Mhm.
empowering things, creating new memories. Because when you're sad or depressed, it's very easy for your mind to get depressed about something because you're already been wired. Your mind is wired to something happens, oh, it's bad. Something happens, I'm depressed. If you've experienced that. So I had to retrain my brain, create new experiences, happy opportunities. I'd go for a walk around a lake, I'd go bike riding. I went horseback riding by myself, but I created positive, enriching things in my life, new experiences, which also helped me to get my mind out of a depressed or saddened state, or at least delay any type of potential of it going that way whenever I experienced something that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So it wasn't an easy journey, and it definitely takes a village, but it's something that you have to really want this for yourself. You have to really want to be healthy. And I know it sounds silly to say that, but sometimes, and you've met people, they say they want something, but they don't take the action to get to those goals.
Yeah, I love that you match action with the intention because that's really what's going to get us to those goals. And I think, you said a lot of different things, but if you bring it all together, a lot of it has to do with your environment, both internal and external. And so our internal environment is like, what are we putting into our bodies? What are we feeding ourselves? What are we listening to? What are we consuming? Right. And then our external environment is our community, our friends, our family, the physical spaces that we're in. If you're going through a challenging time, try opening the window, even though you don't want to like necessarily let the light in, like being just very intentional about everything that you do. And I think being able to take those steps though starts with awareness of where you are now and getting really real and raw about where you are, especially not just how you feel, but the relationships in your life. And one of the things I like to do, because sometimes it can be hard to see, like, okay, is this a relationship that's feeding into me or not? Or is this toxic or not? Like, it's hard sometimes to be able to decipher what that is. And so one of the things I like to do is after a conversation, have this little moment of like, how do I feel? And if you feel invigorated or happy or joyous after that conversation, okay, cool. But if you notice that you're talking to this particular person and every single time you feel like, oh, I need to go take a nap, or like, ooh, that was a lot, that, okay, that's one of those energy drainers that Nurse Alex spoke about.
Absolutely. I mean, and to your point, when I get off the phone with someone, if I feel like, why do I feel like tired or sad or like I'm not doing enough, something, any of those negative thoughts or emotions, I'm like, it makes, my antennas, raise my antennas to like, is this an interaction that I need to be having? And I get it. Sometimes we have like those lifelong friends, and they just are who they are. Sometimes I just need to get less of them.
Yeah.
Maybe the interaction is not as frequent as it once was. And that's okay though. It is totally okay, because at the end of the day, like what you said, what we consume visually, what we hear, what we're taking in and drinking, the environment, all of that is going to contribute to my health and wellness. And I want to be my best, so I have to do my best. And that includes making the necessary changes so I can, be my best.
Yeah. So speaking of being your best, your life is really like a perfect display of how you can follow your passion, right? And walk in your purpose and it lead to ultimately feeling fulfilled. Like you didn't know that you'd be speaking around the world, doing all of these types of engagements, but you ultimately set your sights on, I want to become a nurse. I want to be the best nurse and I want to help people. And having a selfless mission like that empowered you to be the best self that you could be. So how do you stay motivated and invigorated along the way?
I think my dad, really, he was like the catalyst for me to do all of this work. And I didn't even realize I was going to be doing all this, like you mentioned. But there's such a satisfying feeling to know that I've helped someone. And the crazy thing is, sometimes I'll go somewhere and I'll do a presentation or I'll speak or whatever the case may be, or I'll do a television news hit. And then sometimes people will email me or they'll shoot me a message on Instagram and say, my dad was experiencing this, or my grandma this, or I was experiencing this. And after hearing you talk, I did this, this, and that. I don't even know these people, but to know that I can have that positive impact on someone really feels good inside. And I have to say, not only as a health professional and helping people to take better care of themselves, make better health choices, or recognize that they have options, right? But also people who become inspired to become nurses. And the fact that I get to represent Black women on television, like, to me, it gives me so much satisfaction, because I'm helping in ways that I didn't even realize I'm helping. And now I'm not like trying to sell you a book. I'm not trying to sell you a service. I'm literally, from my own passion, getting to talk about something that I'm very passionate about and helping people. I mean, Jocelyn, there's no other feeling like that. I mean, now mind you, I have bills I need to get paid and I do work, but it's those things that make the rewards so much worth it. Like, there's not even a monetary value on the impact that you can make on someone's life. And to know that I'm helping people who may feel helpless, who may feel like they're in a dead end or in a corner and don't know where to go, that really is rewarding. And I think it's that fuels my passion and energy, to know that I'm helping people, even if you're not walking into my emergency room. It really speaks to my mantra. I like to talk to people before they become my patients, because while I'll say, oh, it's nice to meet you, I really don't want to meet you under these circumstances, because you're in my emergency room. So something's gone wrong. So if I can help prevent you from getting here, that's even better.
So you talked about your mantra, which is like you like to see people before they become your patients. What positive affirmations can you give us? Let's say 3 positive affirmations.
Oh my gosh, you put me on a spot. I would have to say I actually have several books that I read from when it comes to positive affirmations. So, oh my gosh, you put me on a spot here. Let's see. Um, as far as positive affirmations, I would have to say, um, I actually almost feel like these are biblical in a sense, but I always tell myself, especially in moments where I feel like things might be challenging, to whom much is given, much is required.
Mm,
So I say that because I've been blessed with so much. Um, but and for those blessings, I've had to do the work. I've had to really trust God, really do the things and walk in my passion, walk in my purpose, and be selfless. And when you do those things, you get so many blessings. You get so many blessings. So that is one that I actually say that a lot. To whom much is given, much is required. So I'd have to say, if I had an affirmation, that would be one that I tell myself every day. But this is no, it's not silly. It is not silly. I get in the mirror and I do self-talk in the mirror. So I'm saying all kinds of things to myself in the mirror, like, Alice, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are intelligent, you are deserving. Because sometimes I
mm,
think opportunities present themselves and I might feel like, oh my gosh, me, I don't deserve, I can feel like I'm not deserving. But when I think back to, or I'm reminded by some of my friends about the work that I've done, I'm like, you know what? Okay, God, I got you. I'll take it. I do deserve it. Thank you so much for the blessing.
yeah, I love that affirmation, that process, and it's not silly at all. I think, sometimes we can think that like, oh, I put my makeup on or whatever, I like this outfit and I look good today, and we go out the door and we go live our lives. But then on a day-to-day basis, to really see ourselves is a
Yeah.
totally different thing. I remember a few months ago, and I've been practicing affirmations and doing a lot of self-work. So it was really surprising to me the reaction that I had. Went on this wellness retreat at Savannah in Arizona,
Mm.
and we were doing this meditation. And I forget which chakra, it was either the root chakra, or sorry, not the root chakra, the sacral chakra or the throat chakra, but we were basically saying like,
Mm.
I am confident, I am worthy. Um, and I started to cry.
Yeah.
And it was like, why am I crying? I have a podcast about confidence. Like I feel confident, but it was working through those things and saying them to myself in a room of people was so powerful. And I think that just having
Mhm.
that daily intentional practice and not just going by and saying it like, I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that, but like really sitting there with yourself and talking to yourself present day, but also doing that like inner child work, talking to the little girl that may have needed to hear that. I think that makes all the difference and it really starts to feed your soul.
It does. And when you said that, oh my gosh, I started to cry. I think anyone who really takes the time to, do those affirmations, you can't help but to cry. It's
Yeah.
like tapping into your inner soul, like fully your mind and body are being aligned. And so when you say those things, you are really feeling with full force the affirmation when you say, I am worthy. Because I think life happens so quickly. We don't always appreciate the beautiful moments in our
Yeah.
lives. And that's something else I've had to learn to do with my mindset change is to
Mhm.
pause and to be present in the moment, to fully appreciate everything that's happening because, you know, positive things will happen. And we don't take the time to celebrate. So I think part of the mindset change is also celebrating myself. Some people will say, oh, well, like that's nothing. No, it's something. I'm going to celebrate all these wins, every single win, because, you work hard. And if you don't celebrate those small milestones, you're going to be forever chasing a moving target of what success looks like. And when will you ever be happy? I'm not looking for destination happiness. I want to be happy today.
Mhm. Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. And what is the journey if
Mhm.
that isn't your mindset? It's unfulfilling. And so being really present along the process, I think is amazing. So any final words of wisdom you have for us?
I really want people to understand the importance of their health and well-being. I know during the pandemic, we talked a lot about health and, COVID and protecting yourself and things like that. So I think it put health under the spotlight. But now that COVID isn't the immediate threat, I want people to really take the opportunity to think like, okay, I made it through the pandemic, but my health is still potentially at risk every day with everything that's going on in our environment. Even, something as simple as, smog, pollution, or the foods that we eat because of the chemicals and preservatives they put in them. So I want people to really take the time to protect their vessel because
Mm,
this is a vessel, this is our body. Just like you have um, a precious, like let's say you have some jewelry or a car, something that you value. You're going to make sure that it's packaged properly, it's handled gently, that it's clean, it's gone in for, check to make sure the stones are in there properly. Those stones, I don't want to stone. Like we take so much care into objects, inanimate objects, that I want people to take the time to do that for themselves. And that while, everyone's the hot topic now is investments and entrepreneurship and being a business, you can't have wealth without health. If you
mm.
don't feel good, if you're sick, if mentally you're tired, you can't think clearly, your response time is slow, how productive are you going to be? So it's really a reminder that your health is your true wealth. And I really want people to take the time to take care of your body physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's all connected. There's nothing wrong with with having a therapist. You should be going for at least an annual wellness appointment, and just whenever there's some type of changes in your body, take note. Your body's talking to you. Your body talks to you every day, but do you listen? I want people to listen to their body. And just as much as you're going to listen to your girlfriend talk about her story, like, oh, girl, what happened next? Okay, what do I need to do? Where do I go? I want you to take just as many notes on yourself and to act on those things so you can live not only just a long life, but a healthy, prosperous life.
I love that. Your health is your wealth. Well, thank you so much, Nurse Alice, for joining us today for Confidence Conversations.
Thanks for having me.